So I've observed an interesting specimen of human behavior. What we have here is a fascinating case study in financial mathematics, specifically how a joint bank account can apparently cause an entire household to forget how basic division works. Let me document this moment in human absurdity. Our subject is a 30-year-old woman who, back during the pandemic, because apparently everyone made life-altering real estate decisions during that time, bought a house with her 28-year-old sister. Standard stuff. 2 people, 50-50 split on all the bills, the math was simple, everyone was happy, life was good, then the sister gets married. And naturally the husband moves in. Now observe the pattern here. You'd think this would complicate things, right? More people, more drama, more arguments about who left the dishes in the sink. But no, it actually made everything better. 3 people in the house now means they split everything 3 ways, 1/3 each. The math still works. Everyone's contributing fairly based on how many humans are actually living there and using the resources. Beautiful. Logical. A rare moment of functional adult behavior. And then naturally, they get a joint bank account. Fascinating specimen. Because apparently, opening a shared checking account doesn't just combine your finances, it fundamentally alters the laws of mathematics itself. The sister now believes that because she and her husband have merged their money, they should split everything 50-50 with our subject. One household paying 50%, the other household paying 50%. Sounds fair, right? Except, and here's where the cognitive dissonance becomes delicious, there are still 3 actual human beings living in this house. 3 people using the water, 3 people using the electricity, 3 people benefiting from the heating oil, 3 people existing in physical space. Notice the classic disconnect between perception and reality here. Our subject keeps trying to explain that if they go 50-50, she'd be paying 50% while her sister and brother-in-law would each be paying 25%. Meaning she, one single person, would be covering half the household expenses while they, 2 people, would be splitting the other half between them. The math is not mathing in her favor. But the sister, she keeps insisting it's unfair to them because they're paying more than our subject. Which, yes, technically 66% is more than 33% when you combine 2 people's contributions and compare it to 1. But that's because, and I cannot stress this enough, they are 2 separate humans who both consume resources. The audacity here is genuinely impressive. We have 1 bank account now, so we count as 1 economic unit for bill-splitting purposes, even though we are definitively 2 distinct physical bodies occupying space and using utilities. Truly a remarkable display of mental gymnastics, and our subject, bless her, is second-guessing herself. She's wondering if maybe property ownership changes something. If maybe marriage introduces some factor she doesn't understand because she's never been married. She's stressed. She's asking the internet if she's somehow the problem here. Spoiler alert, she is not the problem. So naturally, the internet does what it does best, tells her exactly what's going on. And here's where the plot thickens, because apparently there's a detail everyone was missing. The house is only in the 2 sisters' names, not the husband's. Meaning only our subject and her sister are building equity. Only they own the property. The husband, he's just living there, enjoying the space, using the resources, contributing financially, but getting 0 ownership stake in return. Observe as the situation crystallizes. The mortgage, the actual property payment that builds equity, that should absolutely be 50-50 between the 2 legal owners. That's fair. That's how co-ownership works. But the utilities, the household expenses, the day-to-day costs of 3 humans existing in 1 space, that should be split 3 ways. And here we see the pattern become clear. The sister was never arguing about fairness. She was arguing about a joint bank account somehow rewriting the fundamental concept of per capita expense sharing. That's not how anything works. That's not how marriage works. That's not how math works. That's not how reality works. But wait, there's more. Because in her second edit, our subject reveals another delightful layer to this situation. When the sisters first moved in, they made an agreement. The sister gets the bigger bedroom, our subject gets the smaller bedroom plus an office. Standard negotiation. Everyone knows what they're getting. Fair trade. Then the husband moves in and naturally all of his stuff gets dumped into our subject's office. the space she negotiated for, the space she was promised as compensation for having the smaller bedroom, just casually repurposed for the husband's belongings without discussion. The cognitive dissonance is delicious. We want you to pay 50% of everything. Also, we've unilaterally decided your office is now our storage unit. Also, we think this is fair. Also, why are you being difficult about this? Fascinating specimen of entitlement in its natural habitat. So they finally come to an agreement. And here's what they land on. The two sisters split the mortgage 50-50 because they're the co-owners building equity. Makes sense. The three of them split household costs 3 ways because they're 3 humans consuming resources. Also makes sense. And the husband? He pays a little bit of rent, partially for wear and tear, partially for the office he's using as storage because apparently he already has 1 full storage unit and refuses to get a second one. Notice how the solution is exactly what should have happened from the beginning if everyone had just thought about it logically for 30 seconds. And naturally, the consequences were entirely predictable. Everyone gets what they are owed, everyone pays fairly based on what they're actually receiving, and the sisters' argument about joint bank accounts magically disappears once the actual equity ownership gets brought into the conversation. Our subject doesn't mention the exact breakdown. She says maybe 60-40. But honestly, the specifics don't matter as much as the principle here. The principle that you can't just declare, we have a shared bank account now, therefore you owe us special financial treatment, and expect that to override basic fairness. And here's my favorite part. Our subject ends her update by saying, I am well aware my living situation is stupid. Which, respect for the self-awareness, but also, her living situation isn't stupid. Living with family can work beautifully. Splitting costs with roommates is financially smart. What was stupid was the brief period where 2 people with 1 bank account tried to convince a third person that mathematics had changed. The sister's husband, by the way, never once got involved in the discussion. We have no idea if he felt screwed over. We have no idea what he thought about the arrangement. He's just existing in the background while his wife argues that their joint checking account has fundamentally altered the space-time continuum. A textbook case of self-created drama resolved by simply acknowledging objective reality. 3 people live in the house, 3 people use the resources, 3 people should split the variable costs. 2 people own the property, 2 people should split the mortgage. 1 person is using the office as storage. 1 person should pay for that privilege. It's not complicated. It never was complicated. But humans have this remarkable ability to take simple situations and turn them into complex arguments by simply refusing to acknowledge basic facts. And so concludes our observation of human nature. Predictable as always. A joint bank account changes your tax filing status and your financial organization. It does not, in fact, merge 2 humans into 1 economic entity for the purpose of household expense calculations. Nature's way of maintaining balance. Eventually, reality asserts itself, and everyone has to acknowledge that 2 people using 50% of the resources while paying 25% each is not the same as 1 person using 50% of the resources while paying 50% total. The specimen has learned. The situation has stabilized. The office has been reclaimed. All it took was the internet explaining 3rd-grade division. If you've ever had a roommate try to convince you that their unique circumstances mean math works differently for them, drop a comment below. I'd love to document more specimens. And if you enjoyed this case study in human absurdity, subscribe for more observations from the field. Because trust me, people will continue to be fascinating disasters, and I'll be here to analyze every moment. Until next time, remember that a joint bank account is a financial tool, not a reality-warping device. No matter how much your sister insists otherwise. Title suggestions primary. Sister's joint bank account somehow changed how math works. Reddit drama alt 1. Married sister thinks joint account means I pay double AITA breakdown alt 2. She tried to make me pay 50% while they pay 25% each Reddit stories alt 3. Joint bank account doesn't mean you're one person. Karen AITA narration.